Hey, Josh, you know who I blame for 2020?
Who do you blame for 2020?
Carol fucking Baskin.
Do you, or did you just read that off your mug?
No, my wife bought me my 100% that bitch Carol Baskin mug at the Spencer's, I do believe. She sent me a picture, and I knew she was going to buy it for me because that's how she rolls. Today on Man-Childing is Hard, we have the wonderful, the lovely, the slightly smelly Joshua Kramer. Joshua? What's your middle name?
Alexander.
Weird. Today we are talking about the things that when you were 13, you had to have.
Oh, yeah.
There's a list. For us, obviously, this is going to be a little bit dated. This is definitely going to be 90s stuff. I know. How old are you?
36.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we're the same age. So, like, there's a couple things I can think of that come to mind, but I will open the floor to you. Let's just say, like, top of the list.
When I was 13, it was an electric guitar, first and foremost.
What electric guitar specifically? Because there was one, I can tell you exactly the one I've dreamed of in the magazines.
It changed over the years, but at 13, it definitely was a Strat.
Me too.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, it was a white Squire Strat. That's all I wanted.
So I wanted the Sunburst with the white pickup, that kind of, what is it, the Buddy Holly, Eric Clapton, just that classic 50s looking.
I still have the ad. It would just look cool. The ad made it look so cool, and I really liked Strats at that point.
Oh yeah.
So
Still do.
Yeah, my mom ended up getting me a Samick Strat, which I hated the color of. It was candy apple red, but in all, looking back, I guarantee you it was a better guitar. You know, as far as like playability, and it came with a really thick neck too.
I remember those Samics.
Yeah,
they,
it's kind of like the Paul Reed Smith Silver Sky looks exactly like it. You know, it looks like a Greg Bennett Stratocaster, whatever.
My uncle sent me as my first electric was a Korean knockoff Les Paul called Johnny Guitar. Looked exactly like a Les Paul. Probably would have been a lawsuit if they were a bigger company, and had the narrowest neck I still to this day have ever seen. I went back because it's in my parents' garage, and I felt the neck. It is tiny.
70s Gibsons tend to have really crazy narrow necks too, especially like the SGs.
Oh yeah.
For me, it was there was a lot. I was really do you remember Pogs?
Oh yeah, I have.
I was a little bit before 13, but Pogs definitely was a wild ride. But it's just like there's Pogs, guitars, obviously. PlayStation, the PS1.
Oh yeah, I wanted a Nintendo badly when I was a kid. I never ended up getting it. I kind of ignored the PlayStation.
My father
just wasn't on my radar.
My father got an NES in like '88. And that's 1988. You children that are listening to, I know there's at least 4 of you. He had to get an NES, and I'm like 75.7% sure that he bought it for him. But because he's a big nerd at heart too, you wouldn't know what to look at him. But definitely Nintendo, and then that kind of spread to. I never had like a Super Nintendo, and I didn't have like an N64. I had a Sega Genesis. I was one of the Sega dudes. And then I made my way from Sega and PlayStation 1, game changer. For me, especially as a kid, game changer. Because they had like the cool games like Jet Moto, where you're on jet skis and you race yourself over crazy tracks. There's Tomb Raider.
The first one.
I was really into the Tomb Raider games.
The triangle rack.
Triangle boobs. Yeah. Triangle pixelated boobs. It's just a good game. All things aside, it was a stellar game that I really enjoyed. There's so many.
I only had, as far as video games, I only had a Game Boy. But when I was 13 with my bar mitzvah money,
Oh, yeah, your bar mitzvah money, your mitzvahs.
For all my good mitzvahs, in '97 I ended up buying myself my own computer, which was not a cheap thing in 1997.
No, it was not.
It was a Gateway 2000, and it was the coolest machine ever.
I think I had a Dell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a computer at that point in '97.
I remember calling him up and custom ordering it from the Gateway representative, like asking him, "Do I need more?"
That's very Jewish of you.
Well, that's what you had to do. You couldn't just go buy a Gateway off the shelf. They were made to order.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
My mom had one in the house, and I kind of just, I didn't like buy it or order it, but I just kind of parlayed it into being my computer.
But then I got so that's what I put some games on.
Do you remember looking at porn back in the day in the '90s in the wild wild west of the internet
with the 28.8 modem?
Yeah, like early 2000s, like
where you had to wait 5 minutes for a single picture to download.
Yeah, and it would kind of like drop and then drop a little bit more and a little bit more.
Then 4 minutes in, you found out it's a wrong picture.
Or you like stealing some stuff off the internet, like some LimeWire music or something, and you're like basically just hanging out and. Just you'd set it before you go to school or before you go to bed to download. I remember I ripped off Metallica hard because they pissed me off, and I was just like, and I just like I'm just gonna steal all their stuff. And I'm still not. I'm not gonna pay you, Metallica. I love you, but you suck sometimes.
You sold enough of their gear over the years in music shops. They're all right.
Yeah. I've
sold enough Hammett Strats or Hammett guitars and EMGs for them.
Actually, no.
Yeah?
No, I haven't. Never worked anywhere that sold ESPs. Never worked anywhere that sold EMGs. I can't say that I've sold any of them.
Well, I've sold a ton of their...
I've bought some of their albums. Actually bought them.
I have too, yeah. I remember those Wild West days. Before, there was no conscience about it because it was just so new. And, obviously now I have a lot stronger opinions about music piracy.
They've got enough money.
Yeah. I don't.
No, it's like you kind of feel like it's a karma thing. Like if you steal, then they're going to steal. Plus, I like to support,
Oh, yeah. But I remember, downloading whole albums. Like, literally, it would take 8 hours to download an MP3.
It would take a while. I remember downloading "I Disappear" from the Mission Impossible soundtrack.
Well, the other thing you had to remember, I don't know how your internet was. Ours was a phone line back then.
Mine was in Alaska, bro. It was a phone line with the modem.
Oh yeah,
and you couldn't be on the phone and be on the internet at the same time.
So I had to do it overnight because otherwise somebody would call and mess up your entire download.
Yeah, I'd pretty much scrub it, and then you have to be off to the races doing it over again. But
and then hopefully it didn't download the wrong file because there were many that were mislabeled.
Do you remember how fast Pogs came and went? It was like a 2-week span where it was like the shit, and then it was like...
I remember trading for some with some classmates.
I was all into slammers, dude.
Oh, I had a big, inch-thick brass slammer.
I was all about Pogs and skateboards and guitars, obviously, but like... I remember the guitar... Once the guitar bug hit me, though, like everything washed away. I was lucky as far as when I was a kid, my dad was a guitar player with what can be considered to be a good tone, which is important. You don't get this. Like sometimes you get really especially young players will get wrapped into these rabbit holes of, what sounds good. And it's their interpretation of what sounds good, which is not good. An amateur at anything usually is not very good unless there's some kind of wonderkin or something like that. But, he had good tone. So I was exposed to good tone, and the guitar player in his band also had good tone, and even the other guy that played.
I had the opposite. I had no tone reference.
I had a tone reference, so I sidestepped a lot of the shitty pitfalls of young musicians, which brings me to my next point. The one pedal that everyone had to have when they were 13. I am not a member of that club, strangely enough.
Actually, I'm not either. I've borrowed one, but I've never owned one.
I didn't buy a Metal Zone until I was in my 20s. But for the amp that I was using, it actually worked really good, and it sounded good, but I didn't have the gain up very high. Like I was using it more like a EQ, like an EQ boost into a Marshall Plexi.
Now, what I did have, and I bought this right before I went to college, was the Boss GT6, which I only used maybe 3 presets.
Might as well got a Zoom.
Basically. It was the Metal Lead, which was obviously their their Metal Zone setting with a shit ton of delay, shit ton of reverb. You could not hear a pick attack.
You want to give your sound the bone, get a Metal Zone, you know what I mean? It's considered the worst guitar pedal, just for like our listeners out there that are not gear centric. This is like literally the worst sounding guitar pedal in existence. It's like a dumpster full of buzzsaws that like grinding against each other, but there's also bees in there.
When you were a young metalhead, it made you no matter what you plugged into it, it instantly made you sound like Metallica. I say like Metallica. What Metallica sounded like.
When I was a kid, the amp that I had, my first good amp, like my first good one, was it was a crate, weirdly enough, but it was a crate Blue Voodoo.
Oh yeah.
Because like the band I was kind of dinking around with at the time, I mean, the kid played an SG, like a legit SG, and through a 5150 combo. Like this is a PV block letter 5150 combo, and that was it. Like that and a foot switch, and that dude was rock and rolling. So I had to get something comparable to match him, and I was obviously the lead player in that band. But the Crate Blue Voodoo, if I come across another one of those, I'm going to pick it up because it sounds good.
Yeah.
If it's good enough for Marty Friedman, it's good enough for me. I know, like as far as like lead tones, he was the one that I really kind of latched into as far as the way I liked what he played. I like the exoticness of what he played. It sounded different from, say, like the Hammetts of the world, or Hammett had like the iconic kind of guitar leads.
Yeah.
But like they were simple melodic guitar leads. But man, Marty Friedman, notably of Megadeth, was just out there and fun and weird. It made me think, and that's what I kind of like. My lead style, I would say, is definitely like him and Paul Gilbert. I gleaned a lot from those two because I like Paul Gilbert because everything that man plays is fun. Even as a kid, when I was going to school about that time, actually no, in elementary school, I remember driving with my stepdad. His name's Brad DeBellis, great guy. I was driving with him, and he would be listening to Joe Satriani's "Surfing with an Alien." Like that was his jam for a while. So I got exposed to shred guitar in elementary school. So like I remember the one that really stuck with me was Satch Boogie.
Oh yeah, that's such a good one.
It kind of made me want to I can tell you that's probably why a lot of the stuff that I like to play anyway, like I like it to swing and kind of like have a little bit of boogie woogie to it.
My first Satch tune was Mighty Turtlehead, and it's still my favorite one of his, but never gets any recognition.
Do you remember DOD pedals?
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of DOD pedals. I think they're underrated. I think they're underbuilt slightly, but
oh yeah, I remember them.
I grew up in the sticks, so you just couldn't go and buy. I mean, you had like Boss, and then DOD came up.
Anybody who had a band at my age in that time had a DOD pedal. I was kind of on my own, but all the guys I knew who played in a band had the DOD pedal. Of course, it was the mid-90s, yeah.
I had the Icebox chorus.
Or the grunge or the death metal.
I did not have the grunge or the death metal. My first distortion pedal that I ever bought was green Big Muff.
That's not a bad one.
And I got that around, I think my mom got it for me. She got me the green Big Muff and a Vox Wah.
You will never guess what my first distortion pedal ever was.
Tell me.
So going back, I had no tone reference whatsoever. So my first amp was some vintage thing of indeterminate origin. Had to
get what you can get back in the day.
And then my first real amp was a PV Rage 158. And
was it one of the red stripe or the silver stripe?
I think the red stripe.
Yeah, I had a Bandit for.
But so I didn't even realize distortion was a thing. Like even hearing the song, like it just never collected until later on. And then finally, I was just desperate to get one. And the only one I could afford from the Musician's Friend catalog was the Rogue distortion pedal. The Gibson, like one of Gibson's lesser-known brands.
When I was 13, I didn't even know what Musician's Friend was.
Well, you were the last guy.
Yeah.
They mailed them to our house.
Yeah, we didn't. There was nothing like that. I remember the road was dirt up there for a long time. But
yeah, that thing was hive of bees to the next level. But I thought it was the coolest thing because it was the first time I actually sounded like the songs I was loving.
The first distortion pedal. I mean, I guess this is just going to veer off for all you nerds out there into like a gear thing. So if you're into guitar gear, we're going to talk about it a lot because that's what we lusted after at 13, pretty much. Everybody knows who watches me on the internet. I made a living on making fun of the Metal Zone. But I still
I
it has
ghost
this-
wrote a lot of those segments.
Yeah, you see, you got a few in there for sure. But I got one that's coming out that's going to coincide with this video drop. So head over to the YouTube channel. We are going to kazoo into the zone. So I'm going to let that sucker fly. So if you ever wondered what a kazoo sounds like through a metal zone, head over to the Lowell-George Granath YouTube channel. You can see the video of this podcast on there. You can also see what this guy looks like. I make my chair lower than his, so he does not seem as terribly smaller than me than he is.
You're as tall as you feel.
Oh man, it's weird. I just in Alaska, I would not say I'm a big guy, but when I came down here, I felt like a giant. There's people that are taller than me, bigger than me, but I feel like a giant considered to most people I meet here.
I am average everywhere I go.
Yeah, I'm gargantuan sometimes. But I was talking to this dude. One of the things that I do for my day job is I work for a nonprofit where we give away full mouth dental restorations to people that need them. Anyways, we had one of our cases, and there was two people. They're awesome, but they were really tall, like tall. And I was talking to him. I'm like, man, I was talking to the guy because we were doing the girl's mouth. That sounds bad. We were restoring her teeth, or at least doing the initial exam to do so, and surprising her with it. It was really cool. She didn't think she was in there to win anything, but we already knew. But I was talking to her boyfriend who brought her in and nominated her. I'm like, all right, brass tacks, buddy. I told him the story, where I'm from. I'm small, but I came here and I'm huge. And what's life like for you? Because you're really tall. You're legit tall. You're what I would consider tall. I would consider me. I'm 6'1". I would say that for me. That was average. For me, that's what I would consider average. When I was growing up, there was obviously guys that were shorter, but they were kind of few and far between. Most of the time, the people that I hung out with, all my friends were taller than me.
Yeah, well, everyone was always taller than me.
Yeah, but in my band photos, you can see it. I'm the shortest dude in them because they are people that grow them big up there. I don't know if you ever listened to the band 36 Crazy Fists.
A few times. Yeah.
I know Brock, the lead singer of that, and he's big. He's a big fella. That's what I considered to be big. But when I was a kid, I was really small. I was pretty short and pretty small and pretty gangly. But back to things that I loved when I was 13. I remember the first time I heard a distortion pedal that I really loved was the Rocktron Zombie Fuzz. Friends of mine's, we were touring, or we were basically playing. There was a couple bands in town, and there was my band, and then there was a buddy's band that I really liked. It was called the Detention Squad, and they were oh man, it was punky lounge music. One of my best friends in this world, his name is actually, weirdly enough, his name's Joshua Canfield. He's or Lumpy Josh, as we like to call it. Just me and this dude just get each other on a weird level, and it's just we have a lot of fun together. But he was the singer of that band, just psychotic, loved it. The guitar player's name was Brian. He was awesome. The drummer, his name is JP. He was Moose. We call him Moose. I've known him forever. He's a cool dude. And these are all guys I significantly hung out with afterwards. And then the bass player's name was Rain. He's awesome too. He's an awesome guy. But he had that, and he was playing it through, I think, a Rocktron amp. It actually sounded really good, and I was like, "Oh man, that's really cool." But it's it was a distortion pedal that was not nuclear, not like a Metal Zone, not like a Digitech death metal, or or the DOD grunge or anything like that. It actually sounded fat, a lot of big fat mid range, and it sounded good in the context of this band. Of course, this band was pretty good to begin with, So I heard that, and then I ended up getting going down that vein. I ended up picking up a Dan Electro Fab Tone, which I am a huge fan of the Dan Electro pedals. I had many of them right around 13, 14 because they were cheap. They were available, and they were made of cast iron. Some of my favorite pedals are Dan Electro. Some of my favorite guitars are, my Silvertone guitar, which you've seen, my old tour guitar.
Oh, yeah, this thing's great.
Is a the precursor to the Dan Electro. It's a silver tone that was right, that basically became Dan Electro. But I remember, I just pound those things out. And then with the crate Blue Voodoo, since I got that, is amazing. But once my 20s rolled around, it got real poshy. You know what I mean? I was playing like Marshall Plexis and, J&P 1s, and then like
I had a Framus
MK2s.
I had a Framus Cobra as my main one.
That's a great amp.
Oh, it's
yeah,
fantastic.
dude. I couldn't get my hands on like amps with high gain built in. They weren't available. I remember the first one that I bought was a Mesa Boogie single rectifier, and that was a rare bird where I was from.
A buddy of mine from high school that we kind of went down the same metal rabbit hole at the same time. He went more the Meshuggah direction, and I definitely went more the tech shred direction. But he always had amps coming in and out, and one of them was the Cobra, and I had to have it because it was like the greatest metal tone I ever heard.
Oh, because Framases are awesome. Yeah.
No pedals needed, just plug in, and it just had gain.
That's the Lamb of God amp.
The Dragon, I thought was.
Oh, I know they were using Framus amps.
When I roadied for him for a show, and
that shit was nasty.
And the Cobra was just a little more gainy than the Dragon, and God, I used that thing for years. It was the greatest metal tone I'd ever had. Just no need for pedals with that thing.
Okay, I want you to insert your 13-year-old self into yourself right now, because I can do that because I never really got past there. So, using your 13-year-old self as a lens, if you could buy any amp right now, let's say money was no object, and you could go out and get it through the eyes of your 13-year-old self, what would you get? I have my answer, but I want to know yours first.
If my 13-year-old self was making that decision, it would probably be some sort of Marshall. My older,
what's this? You got to be more specific.
Yeah,
like some sort of Marshall is not gonna cut it.
Probably a Pagey or Hendrixy one. I forget. So a JMP of some sort.
Yeah. Like a dual super lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had.
That was the rock amp. It's everybody's first introduction.
I still have
rock
one of those.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, but it's a beast.
I never ended up owning one in my life. Borrowed them a few times.
I had one with the Master Volume mod. It was really good.
Or if you would ask my 14, 15-year-old self, it probably would have been a JCM 800 because that's when I discovered Randy Rhoads, and that was the greatest. Kind of step forward.
The JMP ones are kind of the precursor to the JCM series, so you can I have one of those too. That's the best amp in my opinion that Marshall ever made. It's the JMP, and it's the precursor to the JCM 800. It's the best of both worlds. You can do plexi tones, but you can also do 800 tones. And if you hit it in the front with like an overdrive, it's just like madness, bro. It's I paid $200 for that amp. Well, it's worth like $5,000 now.
For you, what was the first piece of gear that actually made you feel like a legit guitarist or musician? Or was that first moment where you're like, all right?
Just a quick answer to my last question. Sure. Mine would be a Bogner Uberschall. Those are great. Okay, what was the question again?
So what was that first piece of gear that you got that actually made you feel like you stepped up and became a legit musician?
Gibson Flying V.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought one when I was 15.
Nice.
I mowed a lot of yards and I shoveled a lot of shit to get that guitar. But it sucked too, man, because I got it and then I had it for like 2 years. 3 years. I had it through most of high school, but the neck started to twist on it. And if a neck bows, that's one thing, but if it twists, it's kind of toast. So
funny enough, because we're, two sides of the same coin. Mine first was a V as well, but mine was the Gibson Randy Rhoads 5. Or not the Gibson, the Jackson Randy Rhoads 5.
Those are great too. Didn't have the Floyd or the
Didn't have the Floyd.
The ones without the Floyd are the best.
Yeah, didn't have the Floyd. Had the Seymour Duncans, JB and Jazz pickups, and man, I had that thing through most of college.
When I was in LA, I saw one of the Harpoon.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever made them. They had one at the Sam Ash in LA, the one you used to work at, and I almost bought it. I was like this close. I like Randy Rhoads too.
Oh yeah.
But I wouldn't say he's like my hero here. But
he was mine for a very long time.
I enjoy Randy Rhoads. Gosh, I think that was the first one. Was a Gibson Flying V that was like I remember I had a Jag Stang, which I still have. That was a cool guitar, but man, you get your hands on a Gibson. I got a Gibson SGX for a while too. It was salmon pink. It began my love of pink guitars, but I broke the neck off of it pretty rapidly. The V, the neck twisted. I'm currently Funny you should ask. I'm currently building a V right now. I have ordered the body. I have a custom neck coming for it. I'm making a flying V, a shell pink flying V Strat. Because I like Strats, but I like Vs, and I want something that's kind of both. I'm thinking about starting a band. Me and my buddy, a friend of mine, are talking about it with dual guitars, with dual leads, and he's very much a humbucker guy, and I'm just going to rock the single coils because it's a good mix. If you kind of do harmonized leads a lot, it's a good mix. But yeah, it would definitely be the Flying V that made me feel like legit. Getting a proper amp made me feel legit too, like a proper tube amp.
It took me a long time to get a proper tube amp.
Yeah,
and that was the Frameless Cobra. Because I had that PV Rage forever that I would plug the GT6 in, and I wasn't. No one else in my neighborhood at the time in suburban Chicago wanted to play metal, so I just usually ended up playing by myself.
I was in a band that played Seven Mary 3 covers. Oh, we played Am I Evil too.
Oh, nice.
That's why I can flawlessly play He's heard me do it. I can flawlessly play Am I Evil, like from start to finish, just because I literally played it in like the first band I was ever in. Oh gosh, I used to lust at 13 too. Like, I used to lust for albums because like I did not have a regular source for good music. We could drive to the town that was like 200 miles north of us, and we'd go to like the goth shops, like Hot Topic before it was weird. There's a couple more. Subterranea was the name of the store that I would go to, and they had just good music. And I remember like there's this thing too. I think this was like I think Tipper Gore was a little bit before this, but that kind of
was like late 80s.
Yeah, that movement had carried on into the 90s. So you had to have like I remember when Marilyn Manson's Antichrist Superstar come out. My mom wouldn't let me buy it, so my dad bought it for me. Because if you're a child of a broken home, you can usually manipulate your parents into getting you stuff. If one won't do it, the other will do it just to spite the other one. So if you're a kid listening to this and you're in a broken home, that's a tool you can use. But like that album, and like I was really into metal, but I wanted to go. I loved Metallica, and I really loved when the Garage Days Revisited stuff. So I went, listened to the Garage Days Revisited stuff, and then just like plowed through those bands. And I made my way to Merciful Fate because that wasn't on Garage Days Revisited. I think they did a Merciful Fate medley on Garage Inc. But like I found Merciful Fate on my own. And the thing that I loved about Merciful Fate is that I loved Thin Lizzy. And I loved the dual guitars in Thin Lizzy. That was really the first good example that I heard of two guitars going at each other. I had heard my dad played me the Black Rose, which is basically Gary Moore dueling himself in a very old English kind of major guitar solo, like a major scale guitar solo, which is basically you can play pirate music if you just play a major scale, and just hop.
Especially in 3.
If you hop just right, you're fine. Like it'll sound like pirate music, or like old English medieval music. But like he was doing that, and it was great, and it blew my mind. And then Thin Lizzy took that a step farther, and it was heavy, and it was dark, and it was evil, and it had power. And then it was kind of weird because then I hooked back around, and this was all around like 13, 14. That's when I started getting into bands like Slayer. And then, I was like, oh man, Slayer's super cool. They're atmospheric. I like how their songs tend to kind of like fold into, it's very thematic. They have like themes, and the music is like a soundtrack to those themes. And it's just pulverizing. And then I'm just drifting farther and farther. And eventually, I found bands like Pantera. Pantera, I really dug into because, the drums were on point. They weren't overplayed. They were just right in the pocket. The guitars were groovy. The songs were heavy. The message was clear. But yeah, dude, Merciful Fate. When I found Melissa, Merciful Fate's Melissa. And if you haven't listened to Merciful Fate's Melissa, for God's sakes, go out and do that. Or Satan's sakes, because they're totally about Satan. But whatever your pleasure, sir. But that was questing for albums was also something that I did a lot. I would specifically go searching for stuff. And on that note, we are going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with more from Joshua Alexander Kramer and Lowell-George Bradley Granath. We'll see you after these quick messages from our sponsors.
He used my full name. I'm in trouble.
Welcome to the Man-Childing is Hard public service announcement. My name is Lowell-George Granath, host of the Man-Childing is Hard podcast. Has quarantine ruined your insides? Do your farts smell unusually bad? When was the last time your bowel movements were not a soupy mess? When you run for the border, do you run for the bathroom? Are you tired of bloodstains in your underwear? Well, eat some goddamn fiber and lay off the fast food. This has been a message by the Eat Local Business Commission. Eat local. Good for the economy. Okay for you. And we are back. I think I'm going to start making jingles for the breaks for products that don't exist.
They might exist afterwards. You might,
But
will them into existence.
I could think of some fun stuff. So, if you're still with us, we are discussing things that we had to have when we were 13.
It kind of went off on a music gear tangent.
That's
as many
us.
things often do.
Well,
but,
that's us because that was what we lusted after. It was like music.
All right, let's go back. What non-musical things?
Oh man, there was nothing, dude. Like
video games, comics.
Comics I always had a love for comics. Yeah. Toys, always had a love for toys. If you've ever seen my house, you can gather that pretty quick. But no, it's just for me. It's like 13 is like 12 to like maybe like 11 to like 15 or 16. This is this massive age of discovery where everything you're finding is new and you've broken away from your parents' stylings or whatever. Okay, I got a cool question for you.
Okay.
What is the first piece of music that you went out? What's the first album that you went out and bought on your own? And sub-question, what format was it on?
It was CD for.
Okay.
Well, at 13 or just in life?
In life.
In life, it was probably when I was younger. It was probably a record. Probably like Buddy Holly and Richie Valens. I saw La Bamba on TVS one day, and like
with Lou Diamond Phillips.
With Lou Diamond Phillips.
We miss you, Lou Diamond Phillips.
And that's actually one of the instances of me wanting to learn guitar back when I was 7 or 8, and I went out to some resale record shop, and they actually had some oldies. So I picked up like 3 albums from that area.
No, that's cool. Gosh,
I think they're still at my parents' house. I might have them.
Mine was I bought a couple of records. I really have always loved Little Richard.
Oh yeah.
So I bought a Little Richard CD. I don't know the particular order of what happened first, but I bought a Little Richard's like greatest hits on CD because I heard the song Long Tall Sally and Predator when Jesse Ventura and all the dudes are in the helicopter and he's like this stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. And then the other dude's like, yeah, tell that to your sore ass. But that song, it's just, I always loved it. And then Beck's Mellow Gold on tape. Oh, yeah. Those were the first, 2 pieces I think I bought them.
Yeah. After I started playing guitar and started paying more attention to music beyond just listener, I think my first 2, and again, this is mid-90s, was Matchbox 20's first album and Green Day's Nimrod.
Yeah, I bought Nimrod at one point.
Yeah.
I just remember
that was everywhere.
Yeah. I miss being able to buy tangible music.
Yeah.
I actually go out of my way. And that's definitely, I know it's all super hip and in vogue now, but that's just something I like to do. Because sometimes you walk, it's like going into a video store to find a movie you want to watch, because that was part of the ritual for me. I remember when I was a younger man, I would work, and then on the weekends would roll around. I would just grab some movies, for the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Just go to Blockbuster, or there was this place called A1 Video, because it was like a ritual from my childhood.
Oh, yeah, it was ours too.
Me and my dad would go to the video store, Vaughn's Video, that was right down the street from our house, and pick up some movies.
Oh yeah, we did too.
And hang out. But man, to go and buy tangible music I still do it.
I'm sure you did the same thing. The first thing you do when you put it on is you just pull out the liner notes and.
I still do it, man.
Yeah.
Just actually listen to music, like
and
not
just go through the liner notes with the song playing.
Yeah, or just take it in.
Yeah.
Like just relax and take it in. And that's why I like tangible music formats. That's one thing that definitely I got hooked on when I was a kid, and definitely still am hooked on. There's actually a really excellent music store, like for buying music. If you're in the Portland area, it's called Music Millennium, and they have CDs, they have tapes, they have records. I haven't made a pilgrimage over there in a while, but now that come to think of it, I am probably going to do that very thing, because I don't know, man. It's just there's something fun about digging,
Oh, definitely. I've moved so much in the last few years that unfortunately kind of put a damper on any kind of physical music collection. But now that I'm settled and putting a house together, that it's next on the list of starting to build up again.
Yeah, I've got a pretty nice record collection cooking, and like fun thing that my wife and dad got me for Christmas one year is they got me a Megaforce pressing of Ride the Lightning, which is my hands down favorite Metallica record.
Oh yeah, mine too.
It's just good. It's good. It's good on its own, and then I made sure to get a proper turntable and everything. I like to listen to music on the format for which it was created. That was definitely created for vinyl.
Does that translate now to modern music? Because now that
I've abandoned it.
Yeah.
Like I don't buy records of new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to be a really, really cool album. Like I think the most modern thing I have in my record collection is I bought my favorite album by one of my favorite bands, a band called Eagles of Death Metal. And they have an album called Death by Sexy, and it's just like jam, and I love it because you can just put it on and walk away, and it's like you're dancing around the house by the end of it, it's just something that like, it's everything's so single serve now, and that's I kind of maybe get a little nostalgic, you know what I mean, for like, and long for that kind of stuff, which stems right back to being like 13, is like, the things that I used to do then that I really enjoyed, like buying a record and putting it on and looking through the liner notes and actually really listening to every single song. Maybe skip to the song that you wanted to hear first and then go back and listen to the whole thing,
God, I don't miss tape for that.
I don't. I used to have to listen to it pretty quiet. I remember one album that super resonated with me with about that time, though, about 13, 14, was I did not care for Metallica's Load. I didn't care for that record. But
there's a couple songs
I loved Reload.
Mm-hmm.
It had a vibe, and I used to listen to that song. So yeah, that's one thing I couldn't live without when I was 13 was Metallica's Reload. Take it as you will. I'm sure some of my music purist friends are probably like, I don't care. You guys can just suck it. You know what I mean? Like, because I still love that album, hands down. Like,
oh yeah,
it's got a vibe. It's definitely a Bob Rock album, but I like that. Actually, I bought one of the things I bought for my music production software is all the drum kits that I typically use in metal are the Bob Rock drum kits. Like, I love they're pretty much pre-EQ'd and pre-compressed to sound like Bob Rock drums, which is sounds great, I
have them too, the Randy Staub ones, who was Bob's engineer for all that.
Yeah, it's super cool. So when you were 13, so like it was, what was like something? What was an album that you bought and listened to about that time that kind of set you on a path? Because I doubt it was Buddy Holly.
I did for a while, but it was probably the Matchbox 20 and Green Day albums. Again, this is before the rock and the metal really took over. Being of that age and that time with the radio station and friends, that was what was going on.
Oh, Green Day was huge.
Yeah, they were awesome. And that kind of got my fingers moving on guitar. It wasn't hard. It was power chords. It was fun. The real, and then I discovered Zeppelin, Hendrix, and
Well, yeah,
all
yeah. You
that
get
stuff,
you.
but,
I've been inundated with that already.
so my mother was flower child from the '60s, so we always had Beatles, Stones, all that rock stuff. And Zeppelin and Hendrix, but it never really quite clicked until a little later. The real turning point for me, and it was back to an earlier point, was Blizzard of Oz. The Crazy Train was the first song I ever learned all the way through, note for note. And I pretty much learned the first two Ozzy albums back.
Mine
and
was
forth.
Aqualung. I'm not even kidding. That was like the first song I learned all the way through.
That and Sabbath's Paranoid, just because it was a little easier. But
Oh, Sabbath, man! I
Yeah.
can remember rolling onto Sabbath, and that kind of like instead definitely sunk the darkness
but
in
it was,
me.
for you said it was like Merciful Fate.
Oh,
and,
hell, that bang!
It was Ozzy's first two solo albums for me.
I really wish I could sing falsetto that high. I can sing falsetto pretty
Yeah, I
good. I
cannot
can do
sing falsetto,
I can sing falsetto screams, but I cannot get them up there in the King Diamond range. It's my biggest regret in life. Because I would totally dude, I'd start like a Merciful Fate tribute band. Listen, guys, if there's anyone out there that's interested in starting a Merciful Fate tribute band, I'm totally down. I'll play the crap out of guitars. I can't do the vocals. I'm a pretty good singer, but I cannot do King Diamond vocals. I can do like crazy, like when he gets all we'll open the door. I can do like the low King Diamond, but it's like being able to do low Barry Gibb. Who cares? Who cares if you can do low Barry Gibb? I mean, like, no one wants to hear low Barry Gibb. We want to hear high Gibb.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing that out there, guys. If you guys want to hear a Merciful Fate tribute act, I don't know what we'd call it. Maybe like, Curse of the Pharaohs or something. I don't know. It's stupid. I don't know. What would be a good name for a Merciful Fate? Into the Coven. That'd be a good one. Yeah. I'm pretty good with this. I was in briefly, me and my buddies put together a Misfits tribute thing just to do like for a show. We called it Death Comes Ripping. It's pretty cool. So if you guys want to start a Misfits tribute band, hit me up because my band is not doing anything, so I need something to do. I'm just going to throw it out there.
For as busy as you are, you're also an incredibly bored man.
Well, I need to have a band in my life
Yeah.
because that's like, I had over COVID, I had anxiety attacks. Like I was having like full blown anxiety attacks because I really feel like, other than just the existential dread of everything that was going on, and the fact that there's riots right across the river from where I'm at, like full scale, that lasted most of a year. I think what really got me was I did not have the emotional, blow off valve that I'd had in being in a band, because you can get rid of a lot of these negative feelings and turn them into something positive. And I get it. It wasn't like nothing negative, but my guys just kind of, one was really paranoid about COVID, and then which is understandably so, and the other one was kind of doing the same thing. So they're just kind of doing it, and then I just don't know what's really going on, and it's definitely something I'm pursuing. I'm talking with another dude right now about getting something going with the dual harmony leads. A buddy of mine named Brian. He's a Mondo dude. And
Are you still working on the surf project?
Yeah, but once again, it's just like a lot of the two of the key guys in there. One is an elderly dude, and the other is a dude whose wife is immunocompromised. So it's totally understandable.
Yeah.
I'm just going stir crazy as far as like music goes. I'm making tons of music for YouTube, so go check out my channel because it's going to be all that. Go check out Pedalboards of Doom because I'm all over that making music, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? Making music with myself is cool and it's fun, but it's not like playing with others. Which, I remember 13, I think 12 or 13 is when I first started playing in bands. And oh my gosh, that was a game changer for me. That's why 90% of what I lusted after was music gear, because it was like, it's to fill a necessity and it's discovery. And like listening to music at that time was like basically like inspirato fuel. I mean, it was just like crazy. Like you get a new record that sets you off on some tangent, and then you play for like 13 hours a day, and because you just digest it. I mean, you would like a boa constrictor. In some cultures you have to unhinge your jaw to show love, and you just like swallow it whole. You know what I mean? That's what you were doing with records and like learning the guitar. So I mean, yeah. So if this episode ended up being really Guitar Gear centric, it's because that's what I lusted. We lusted after.
There were other things. There were some video games. There was some
girls. You know, but even
Right.
like girls took a second seat to like guitar for me.
Oh yeah, back then definitely.
Yeah.
That and the fact that I wasn't really good with them to begin with, so it was easier just to play guitar.
It wasn't really a problem for me. But we that's what we lusted after, and like it's cool now to reflect on that, you know, as the whole theme of this whole podcast is just kind of, you know, reflecting on this kind of stuff or trying to instill that vigor and that into what we do now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's because now I've got plenty of stuff. I love guitar pedals. I like buy them like toys all the time. Like it's nutty. Like how many I've bought in like the last month. And a good buddy of mine, Vince in Texas, Vagabond Audio, is building me a pedal board right now. It's going to be pink.
As it should.
My good friend Brandon Shock at Shock Rock Effects, actually, he's making me a pedal specifically for me. It's called oh gosh, I can never remember the name because it's like 1,000 miles long, and but I have it on my phone. But it's the best thing ever. I'll go to the webpage and I'll put a photo of it up. I'll definitely have a photo of it in this video, but it's let's see here, the super awesome fun pedal experience.
That is fun.
Yeah, and it has a mega switch that says press and you will have a good time. And you even put pink LEDs in it for me because he's a wizard. Here pretty soon on the channel too. I'm gonna go over to his house and do an interview with him next week, and you'll see that come up too because he's a mad wizard, and I absolutely just love the man. He's a creative. He's the most creative, wonky pedal genius I've ever come across, and we get along just fine. So, Brandon, if you're listening, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet or gone and check out the podcast, go do it. We'll wait. Yeah. You done it yet? So, through the lens of your 13-year-old self, no. If your 13-year-old self walked through the door right now and had like 20 or 30 minutes to like overview what you've done since you were 13, what would your 13-year-old self think of you now?
After getting over the shock of the loss of his hairline, I don't know. Yeah, I've thought about this a lot because I've changed so much over the years. From the long-haired metalhead to the trying to be a working musician to the
you're like a Hebrew Ron Jeremy.
He is Jewish.
Yeah, but you were like way more. You were like a higher purity. Like it was just like way more because you had the curls. I've seen the pictures. It was
like not quite Marty Friedman curls, but just a little.
They were close.
Yeah.
But my only criticism was the pencil thin goatee. That was a mistake, dude.
Grew that as soon as I physically could.
I'm glad that once I hit a point in my life that I could like make the choices for like hair and appearance myself. I never really made any terrible pitfalls.
Nah.
Not like a pencil thin goatee. But like, I don't know, man. I don't. What would he say to you? Like, would he approve? Would he?
I think he would approve, but I think he'd also be very surprised. A lot of the avenues I went down, totally did not expect. I had such tunnel vision of what I thought my life should be and what I was fascinated. And it definitely changed before I even got to college. But I think he'd be happy. I was getting some on a regular basis from a very hot woman, and made quite a living, or at least a living on music for a while. So I think he'd be happy. A little confused, but happy.
Oh.
What about you?
Oh God. Oh God. My 13-year-old self would be like, "You're fucking awesome." My thing is that I haven't really changed, and like what I wanted to do with my life has progressed. The fact that I'm not like playing in a band right now would probably be disappointing. But all the other stuff.
Yeah, I think that would be disappointing too. But
all the other stuff I've done, the fact that I still create music weekly, in mass and like do videos, and I'm always being creative and painting and live in a cool house, have an awesome wife, pretty rad life. I mean, I really.
And you'll ask yourself, how did you get here?
And I'm not gonna tell him. I'm just like, don't fuck it up, dude. Oh gosh, I'm just gonna be like, I will give one criticism. Take better care of your teeth. Just like, do it, dude. Like, listen, eat, brush your shit. You know what I mean? Floss. You need to floss every day. I do now.
Yeah.
That I've learned the hard way that you're supposed to do that. Luckily, I have a really, really good friend that helped me get my teeth all taken care of. Like everything, like from stem to stern, and that is Mr. Brady Smith. He's a amazing dude. I actually, pretty much my day job is with him.
Yeah.
We have a nonprofit that we run together, and it's Halo Dental Network. Like I said, I'm shameless. This is a shameless plug section of the podcast. Go check out the Halo Dental Network, and if every donation makes us helps us help more people. Essentially, we give away full mouth restorations to people that need them. And it's there could not be a cooler job. Like not just yesterday, I got to see someone they went through the nomination process.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know someone in need of dental help, you can nominate them on that webpage. Click the link below. But I got to see the finished case, and it's the first finished one from the batch that we just did. So from like just a train wreck in the mouth to like epic in the mouth. That sounds bad. No, and the thing is, it's just crazy to see like the life change that happens to people. So I mean, I couldn't be happier with my day job. It's actually very satisfying. It can be fun. Like sometimes I work 4 hours a day, and sometimes I work like 14 hours a day. But it's always different, and there's not really a routine because it's like always shifting, and I'm always having to do other stuff. So yeah, my 13, 14-year-old self would be like, you're pretty badass, and do some fucking sit-ups, man. I'm working on it, dude. I actually started working out every day again because I need to get back in better shape. But like,
yeah, I think my former self would be happy. Have some questions, but would be happy.
Listen, man, hair club for men is a thing. You're not that bad.
No,
you're gonna widow peak out. It's fine.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
I'm gonna have one too. It's gonna happen eventually. Maybe, I don't know.
Whatever. It's just hair.
Yeah, but my hair is really awesome. And it has been most of my life. I don't know what I'd do. I don't know what I'd do if I went bald. I'm not going to, but unless something catastrophic, like go to like Chernobyl or something. Stand next to the elephant foot.
So what is us in our late 30s lust after gear-wise now? Or things, what is this thing we have to have right now? Obviously, we have a little perspective and nothing's truly a need beyond the essentials, but...
Oh, gosh. A Gretsch White Falcon has been a dream of mine since I was 14. I'm going to buy one this year. I'm buying one this year. Like, I'm getting one this year. This is the year. I did it. I got to where I wanted to be. I don't know, probably maybe later this year or something, but that's definitely on my list because I've always wanted one, but you just never could afford it, or could justify it. But now I'm at this point where, you know what? I wanted this thing since I was 14 years old. I should just do it and just be done with that part of my life. That chapter of my life can close from 14 to 37. I got a birthday coming up, so yeah. It's trickling around the corner. I'm not going to tell you when.
He's a Pisces.
Yeah, very much so. But man, that's, I really like, I don't know, man. I'm not wanting in the gear department, maybe like a really boss acoustic guitar, like a really, and I'm not terribly particular, like maybe like a cool Martin, like maybe like I love D28s, maybe like a cool D28, like a herringbone one.
That would be nice.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm like, as far as, I like them a bit bigger in body than you do. He likes slightly smaller body guitars, which is not pretty obvious because, they're probably just more comfortable for you.
Yeah, it's just, I'm so used to having to stand out in groups that I like the way they cut in live performances.
Well, I hit mine real hard, so that's how I make them cut. What is same question to you? What
Yeah.
is your 36-year-old
Yeah.
self? What do you lust after?
A very, very nice acoustic would be amazing. A Martin, a Collings, or a Santa Cruz would all be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You ever see the Otis Redding?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I've always wanted a Sir, just to have just a one guitar to do nearly everything.
Yeah, like a shreddy, sir, like a
modern,
modern or something.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's tons of. I could go down a huge list of guitars that would be dying to have. There's some studio gear I've been dying for, always wanted to have, but I don't know, gear wise, like you, like one of the benefits of working in the industry is as long as I've met most of my gear heroes, so to speak, and I'm not wanting.
I never met Devin Townsend. I would really like to meet Devin Townsend. Devin Townsend, if you're listening to this, hit me up. We'll hang out.
Henry Rollins, you were my white whale in L.A. I never did meet you.
Oh, I've read most of that guy's books.
I have too, yeah.
They're that guy's a treasure. He's a national treasure.
Okay, so who was at 13 then?
For me,
yeah,
like Thompson, dude, Hunter S. Thompson. I was reading Thompson. It was all about that guy. I read like all the letters, all the correspondence. Yeah, Hunter S. Thompson. That guy was rad. That's.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't say he was like a hero, but definitely as far as like a literary thing that I would try and seek out because it's really hard to find stuff. When I was a little bit older, a buddy of mine gave me Curse of Lono, which is my favorite Hunter S. Thompson book. It's basically Fear and Loathing, but in Fear and Loathing was set in Hawaii. It was super cool, but I don't know. I didn't have a real hero worship thing. I really liked James Hetfield just because I liked his guitar playing style and I liked his voice and I liked how much power he would present.
Oh, yeah.
But I wasn't like, I definitely copped some of the moves, but I didn't really have a hero worship thing. I never really had the hero worship thing. Later in life, it became Tom Waits.
Mm-hmm.
Like musically.
Oh, yeah, I've talked about
musically, Waits is like, and I got caught him later, but and it was as I delved deeper into songwriting, as I really tried to become better and do better songs, and it was weird because my voice is always like, I come from this like just family of angelic singers, like angel singers. I had plenty of talent, but I couldn't do what they did, and that's what I thought was considered good singing, was like being able to sing really pretty and high, and because they're all high singers. I am not.
No.
I am a low singer. I can get high, but I would say I'm like a baritone tenor, like a low tenor baritone. I'm like right in there. So that's like where my center is, and I'm really gravelly. And I have a lot of grit. I got that extra like little panache, you know what I mean? Like it's it's the reason I did like good in theater and stuff.
Oh yeah,
because like I had just that little extra sauce.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the recording of our audio track, and I can definitely see your waveform versus my waveform.
Yeah, it's beefy.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, the other podcast I'm on the Drill with Dr. Brady podcast. I co-host that one. He's got a boomy voice too. Like it's a big. And his is higher, much higher than mine. But it's definitely a boomy voice. But I didn't sing like an angel. And the thing was they gave me they're kind of jerks about it. And like, because it's like I would sing and they'd be like, "Shouldn't you stop?" Because I just didn't sing like they sing. And but as I got more comfortable with it, and I was basically, I think I learned to do everything good, ironically. As I got better at it, I started seeking out singers that I could kind of relate to more. It's the reason I like Nirvana, because Cobain, had a nasty voice, and it was cool. And then I just kind of started working my way through them. And that's the reason I like punk rock, too, because I could do punk rock. I started learning to do, in high school, you've heard me do it, like the vocal acrobatic stuff. Yeah. Because I started listening to Misfits. And, all the woes and stuff like that. And then Danzig, was a big time. But then, I eventually moved my way to Waits, and then I was like, oh, I don't need to try and mask this anymore. This is, I can do something that 99% of people can't do. I can really do this style of music or this style of vocals and do it convincing. Kind of like that, I would almost call it like a Wilson Pickett. I can do like the Wilson Pickett screams, John Fogerty kind of stuff. I can do all that. And then Waits, I can do the Waits stuff really good. And I got the gurgle and the girth to really make that get down there. You know what I mean? So yeah, Tom Waits.
Oh,
now,
right.
if I was going to say like a hero, Henry Rollins, Tom Waits. If I could just hang out in a room with two dudes, it would be Henry Rollins and Tom Waits.
Yeah, that would be.
That conversation would be rad.
I'd like to add Shane McGowan into that, but that would be unintelligible.
Actually, he's got teeth now, so
I know he's got teeth now.
He talks a lot better with teeth.
Yeah.
He's actually pretty. You can actually tell what he's saying. So, I want everyone out there to look into themselves, look into the 13-year-old version of themselves, and just ask yourself, what would your 13-year-old version of yourself think about you now? I know mine would be pretty okay with it.
Yeah.
His would be pretty okay with it. Might have some questions, but
and revisit those things that made your 13-year-old self happy.
They might revitalize you to some degree. I do it all the time.
yeah.
Like I still listen to Merciful Fate every day. To some point, there's like I have a rolling playlist of things that I listen to, which I really love playlists too because it's kind of like listening to the radio, but like just full of stuff that I like. But revisit that stuff because you might get a little bit of supercharged or maybe remember what made you kick ass, and you can revisit that, so that adulthood and drudgery doesn't drag you down. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to end it on a positive, if childish note.
So, my name is Lowell-George Bradley Granath.
I'm Joshua Alexander Kramer.
And this has
MFA.
been the Man-Childing is Hard podcast. I want you all to have a fantastic evening or morning whenever you listen to this thing. And remember, be fantastic always.
And stay golden, apparently.
Pretty little snowflake, delicate little cupcake, tell me now, what's your problem today? Something set you off, really piss you off, did you not get your own way? Well, I know a way, we can settle our differences today. I can show you, I know a better way, 'cause my dad can totally beat up your dad. My dad can totally beat up your dad. My dad is 5 alarm, your dad is Pepperidge Farms. My dad's strong like Hercules.